Wargamers. Today I want to answer a question that I get asked frequently, and that is, what should I get when I start playing Tau? What are the good options for a beginning list, and how do I get that in the most cost-effective way? So today that's what we're going to be talking about. Before we do that though, I want to say thanks for watching. If you like this video, go ahead, hit the subscribe button. That way you don't miss any of my upcoming 8th edition content. Alright, so like I said, what do you want to do when you first start playing Tau? And you know, there's no right answer to this, of course, it's just my opinion, but I think, you know, a good starter list can be made with the Start Collecting Tau box. It actually has a lot of really good units in it. Specifically, Fire Warriors are good, Ethereals are not too shabby, and then the Crisis Suits can be used as either Crisis Suits, but also as commanders. A commander does not have to be the actual commander model that's specifically for things like in the Enforcer armor or in the Cold Star suit. Those things need to specifically have that model, but a Crisis Commander itself isn't necessarily needing to be in that model. You can use the Crisis Suits from the Start Collecting box as commanders, and the change in the rules to how Crisis Suits work, basically that you can't take individuals, kind of makes that a little bit easier. I would say, you know, if you wanted to use individual Crisis Suits as commanders in 7th edition, that would be a little bit more complicated because that could cause confusion between single Crisis Suits and single commanders. But now, because you can't take single Crisis Suits, any Crisis Suit that you see by itself on the tabletop is automatically going to be a commander by necessity. So yeah, I think the Start Collecting box is a great way to get into the hobby, and it has a good set of units that you're actually going to use this edition and in future editions. Those are kind of staple units that are always going to be part of your army, or at least good things to have on hand. So that's where I would start. I would start with that Start Collecting box, and I would move on from there. Basically, you can make a really good 1,000 point list using that Start Collecting box and a few other things for under $300, which you know, seems like a lot right off the bat, but in this hobby, you know, a 1,000 point list for under $300 isn't too bad. So that list, you know, you can find that in the description below, but basically it's a Battalion Detachment with the Ethereal from the Start Collecting box and Longstrike as your HQ choices. So for Longstrike, you can just pick up a standard Hammerhead and say, hey, this is Longstrike. That works just fine. Then you'll have 2 9-man units of strike teams, and then 1 8-man unit of strike teams, just because of the way points worked out. But if you really want 3 9-man units, you can make it happen. And then a 5-man unit of Pathfinders and a single 4-man unit of gun drones. And you know, you could drop those gun drones and take drones other places, or use those points to wiggle around your other units too if you wanted to. The rest of the list is going to be comprised of a Supreme Command Detachment using those 3 Crisis Suits that came in the Start Collecting box as quad Fusion Blaster Crisis Commanders. So you can use those guys just like that, and like I said, that's just your Start Collecting box. 2 more boxes of Fire Warriors and a Hammerhead. Oh, and a Pathfinder box too. So all that for under $300 American is not too bad. What would you get next? Where would you go from there if you wanted to start expanding your army, taking on more diverse opponents, things like that? I think the first thing that you want to pick up is a Cadre Fireblade. He's going to actually do really well with this high number of Fire Warriors that you've amassed at this point. Also, getting actual commander models is not a bad idea either. Instead of having just the Crisis Suits, you can get actual commander models that you know, will work better in the future. So there's that. Stealth teams are going to be a nice option too. If you want to pick up stealth teams, they're going to allow you to use those Crisis Suits, whether they're Crisis Suits or Crisis Commanders, more effectively by providing homing beacons. Picking up a Devilfish would be also a nice amendment to this army list, being able to plug that in for Fire Warriors, whether they're strike teams or breacher teams, is not too bad of an idea. And then a Ghost Keel would be nice too. So Ghost Keels are a unit that I like. They're a really fun unit just to have from a hobby perspective. They're a great model to assemble and paint, and I love having it in my collection. But it also is kind of a nice anchor unit for your army just because it's so durable that a lot of the times people don't even bother shooting at them. So it's a good option for a list that's just starting out. If you want to get into Forge World, of course I'm going to recommend that you get a Yvara, but if you're just starting out in the game, you know, maybe that's not quite necessary at this point. So keep that in mind. You don't need to jump into Forge World right away. There's plenty of good units in the Codex, and it's good to kind of get the basic mechanics of the army down first before you start, you know, exploring those other options. So that's kind of the list I would recommend to begin with. Like I said, it's under $300. It gives you a good entryway into the mechanics of the army and gets you familiar with how different weapons and units work. It's a good teaching army, and it's a good hobby army as well. It gives you lots of different things to paint and work with, which is nice. So yeah, I think that's the answer to your question. Hopefully this helps. Of course, the things that I'm going to recommend are going to change over time, and as different products come out, this might change. So we'll probably revisit this in the future, but for now, that's the shopping list. So thanks for watching. Let me know what you think in the comments. If this is a you know, a good starting point for you, if you're just starting out, let me know if it sounds good. If it sounds bad, I'd love to hear alternative options as well. So thanks for watching, and happy wargaming.